Hi Leo, welcome to your September 2019 Astrology 33 reading. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And just to let you guys know, I won't be offering personal readings for a bit. Most likely by the time I post the October videos, I will start doing personal readings again, but I'll definitely update you guys during that video for sure if that's the case or not. And then regarding the love readings, those will be out a little bit closer to Labor Day weekend. All right. So with that out of the way, we have a Celtic cross spread in front of us. You guys got some extra cards that came up there. And we also have two oracle cards to take a look at and a mudra card. So getting started with your main spread. In the main situation position, we have the Seven of Pentacles. So this is actually a Taurus energy. So this can just be, you might be looking at how far you've progressed in your career so far. And there may be a tendency to be a little bit more critical of yourself than maybe you should be at this time. The reason I say that is because you're going to have a lot of energy in your second house of Virgo, which is related to finances, and that's the natural Taurus house as well, the second house. So you could see the interplay of those energies there. And then with Uranus going retrograde in Taurus as well, which is your 10th house of career and social status, you might just really be comparing yourself to others, or maybe even just looking at the progress you've made up to this point and wondering if you still have the energy and effort to put into continuing to build that up. So there could be some reevaluation there. And then what makes it even trickier is there's actually going to be a full moon in your 8th house this month. So, that could actually make things a little bit more cloudy for you too regarding finances of others. So just something to keep in mind there. Try to stay out of that pessimistic mentality if you can. I mean, on the positive, with all those planets in your second house, there is some room to make moves financially. So that's the more positive side. But like I said, given that your second house is Virgo, there just might be a bit more of a tendency to be a bit more critical about where you are at this point, especially because on top of that, your sixth house of Capricorn, which is that other Virgo link, all those planets passing through there, they're going to trine Saturn and trine Pluto. So that could actually be a bit more of a positive vibe as well. And then Saturn's going to start moving forward in your sixth house. So as far as your work and day-to-day routines, where things might have felt a little bit stuck for you, they should start to move forward a little bit as we move toward the end of September. So if you find yourself in this energy, just try to stay out of it and just know that it shouldn't last for too long. In the challenger obstacle position, we have the Knight of Cups in reverse. So again, this is actually let me put in the upright while I talk about it. This is a court card for Pisces, and Pisces being your 8th house. Like I said, there's going to be, a lot of things are going to be hitting Pisces as well. All those planets moving through Virgo are going to hit them. That Jupiter square is going to happen again between Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. So there could be some confusion around finances of others as well. So another way this could even play out is, let's say you're in a relationship, right? And you might start to view the person you're with as maybe possibly a bit of a financial drain on you. That could be the way it plays out too, since this is in the reverse. Or this could even say, because you might just be so focused on finances and viewing them in a bit more of a pessimistic way, it might actually dry up your sex life a little bit if you're in a relationship. So that's another way that could play out as well. And for others of you, you could be dealing with a Pisces or maybe even any other water sign that you're in a connection with, and maybe you're starting to reevaluate, do you want to continue that connection or not? Because, and maybe that's even part of it, right? Maybe sexually you're just not connecting anymore, and you might start to feel like, is the passion there? Is it not there? So that's a few ways it could play out. Now, if this is something that you've been feeling for a long time, that's one thing that I would say, all right, maybe you could trust it. But, I feel like for a lot of you, it could just be the energies at play that just might have you, maybe not seeing things as clearly as usual this month. So just something to keep in mind there, if that's what you're feeling. In the foundation position, we have the Magician. So this is actually an energy of manifestation. So keep in mind there's good and bad with that, right? That's the whole as above so below thing. So this is saying that, hey, like I was saying to you guys before, there's room for you to move forward financially this month if you do play your cards right, or at least to see how you could make that forward progress with all of the energy in the second house, rather than getting caught up in a more pessimistic view. So that's to say that, hey, if you try to keep your thoughts positive with the magician in the foundation, you might be able to get some positive forward progress in that area of life. Whereas if you're looking at things more negatively, then keep in mind that that might bring more negativity about. I'm not someone who always is all about that, oh, negative thoughts cause negative things and vice versa. But in this month in particular, with that placement, I will say that that is a little bit more at play than usual. In the past position, we have the Five of Wands. So whether this is related to work, like I feel like it is for some of you at the very least, or relationship, this could just say that, well, let's tackle the work angle first. Let's say that you're in a very competitive field, right? And again, you might feel like the people, there are other people that are in your field that might be further ahead than you. And, you might be asking yourself, well, do I even want to continue down this path, right? Or maybe you just feel like it's a very cutthroat environment that's not really conducive to the progress you're trying to make, and you're like, well, you know what, is this really an environment I want to keep myself in? Like, even if you are experiencing the progress, it might just drain you, right? Like, for example, let's say you feel like because you're putting in so much work, because it's such a competitive field, other areas of your life, maybe your romance, right, your sex life might be suffering as a result. And you might be asking yourself, well, do I want to keep doing this? For others of you, this can be that there's been a conflict in your relationship, right? And like I said, maybe with a water sign, or this could just even be saying that you feel like the emotion is dried up and you're starting to ask yourself, do I want to continue to invest in this connection, right? So that's a few different ways it could play out. And as far as the timeline, this could even be saying that when this all took place might have been the last week of July, which, if that's the case, we were still dealing with retrograde energy, and the eclipse energies was starting to lift. So, wouldn't surprise me if that's what took place there. In the present position, we have the Two of Swords and the Nine of Pentacles. So, a few ways that this could be playing out. One way this could be playing out is just saying that you're really putting a lot of thought into how to get that financial growth, right? Because if you're at the 7 right now, and we see the 9 in the present, that could just be saying that you're really putting a lot of thought into, okay, well, how can I make my finances grow? And with it being this card in particular, what I always say with the Two of Swords, first of all, it's a Libra energy, and I also view it as this person has their back turned on the water and the moon. So those are both indicators of emotions to me. And then with the blindfold on, it's like they're trying to make the decision strictly based on logic, They even have their heart crossed off, right? They're like, I don't want to think about this from an emotional standpoint. I want to make this strictly based on logic. What's the logical best decision for me to make? And for some of you, like I said, if you feel like you're in a relationship with someone and you feel like they're a drain on you financially in some way, whether because maybe they're not working right now, or maybe even, you know, just because you feel like you take them out on a lot of dates, whatever the case may be, or even just being on the dating scene, right? You might feel like it's a drain on you financially, and you might be like, maybe I'd just be better off to be single, right? If I were single, that would be less expenses, my money would start to grow. That could be one way that you're thinking of it. So that's another way that could play out. And this can just be thinking about just leaving a connection behind and trying to keep the emotion out of it, which is interesting. That's not normally your style. So that's what I'm saying. I feel like there just might be a bit of a fog around you this month. In the near future position, we have the Justice card and the Nine of Wands. So what's interesting here, actually, now that we have the Justice at play, so there's a few ways I'm seeing this potentially playing out as well. With Justice, this is the major arcana card for Libra, so yeah, we have more Libra energy here. So one way this could be playing out is this can be a relationship that you're already checked out of, quite frankly, and it might even be a marriage, and you might be worrying about, well, maybe that's where it's coming into play. You might be thinking, well, if I divorce this person, am I going to take a loss financially, right? Like that. Because if we look at the Nine of Wands, looking right at that, right, they might be like, okay, well, if I divorce this person, it might actually put a big dent in my finances. So you might feel like you're stuck, like there's no positive way forward. Um, but keep in mind with the Justice card there, that wouldn't necessarily be a worry that you would need to have if you've been doing the right thing, right? Because justice is going to say that there will be fairness and balance. So, now obviously if you were cheating, let's say, and they have proof of that and you go to get a divorce, then yeah, you might take a loss financially, right? But, if you're on the up and up and it's just clearly where you feel like the connection is done, then, this is saying that, hey, things would work out in a fair way if that's what you're worried about. Um, but another way that I see this playing out is to say that, you're in this energy right now, a very pessimistic energy, it seems. And if you were to make a move, a rash decision, because I do see the tower in your position, the position of your influence on the situation, could just be saying that by the time, we start to really get in that Libra energy, you might be looking back on it like, oof, I think I might have messed up, right? So just something to keep in mind there, like I said, maybe this won't resonate for a lot of you, but whomever I'm resonating with on this one, it seems like you guys are just in a bit of a mental fog, and I have this fear that you might make a rash decision that might do more harm than good. So, you know, if this does resonate with you, just keep that in mind. In the position of your influence on a situation, we have the tower. So, like I said, I really feel like, all right, so let's look at this a few different ways. Let's say it's your work life, right? Maybe this is all career stuff. And maybe you feel like, oh, I'm at the Seven of Pentacles right now. Maybe people in my environment are further ahead than me, right? And then you might just make the rash decision to just up and quit your job. And then, you know, time settles and you might realize that you didn't have a plan B, right? And now you're like, oh, great, I screwed up here, right? As far as the Justice card and then that Nine of Wands, which is to say, maybe you might have even done it hoping, almost doing it like a power play, like threatening to quit, right? And then they're like, okay, whatever. And then you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting it to go that way. I thought that I would get more money, right? So, and that could be one way it's playing out. Like I said, if this is something that you've thought out for a long time and this really has been a connection that's died out and, fizzled out, whether it be career, romance, friendship, you name it, as long as it really is something you've given a lot of thought to with the Justice card in the near future, if you were to make this type of decision, then it should pan out fine. But if this is something more of a new feeling that's just recently arisen for you, I'd say if you can, try to ride that out and see if you still feel that way next month. Um, because, especially with the finance thing too, because like I said, it could just be that you're a bit more self-critical than normal with all of those planets in Virgo. And then as they start to shift into Libra, for example, you might feel like things are a lot more fertile, like things start to move a lot more as it gets into a more supportive energy for your sign, basically. In the position of the environment, we have the Six of Swords. So this is actually a Aquarius card. And this just represents moving on. So let's say, for example, you did actually break up a connection. This would just be saying that the person would be moving away. For some of you, this could even just be an indicator to just take a vacation, not necessarily any big extravagant vacation, but just maybe take a few days off from work, clear your head, basically, That could be what it's saying as well. But since Aquarius is your opposite sign, this could definitely represent, a splitting of a relationship. So that could be how that's playing out. Nothing else is really coming to mind for me with that. There's nothing really going on in Aquarius this month. And in your 11th house, Steve, Gemini is going to be pretty quiet as well. So primarily this is just the energy. So for some of you, could just be saying, hey, if you can, just take a little, take a few days away to clear your mind and think things over. For others of you, just can be saying that, yeah, you know what, if you do, maybe let's say because you're frustrated with your finances, you might lash out in your romantic relationship or feel like, you might be a burden to them even for a smaller percentage of you where you're like, well, I don't really have anything to offer this person, and you break up the connection. Then all of a sudden your finances might actually turn around and you're like, oh crap, did I just ruin that relationship for nothing? Something to think of there. In the hopes or fears position, we have the World card and the Four of Wands. So I have to say, for some of you, I think this is a hope. Like I said, with the World card representing completions, ending of cycles, some of you might be hoping that this connection is over. Like I said, some of you might actually want to be leaving a marriage, and because you might have felt that it's just not, there's no passion there. You might feel like there's just stagnation, right? You're unable to grow in your life because of the connection. And if that's the case, then I could see that, yeah, maybe you would want for that connection to end. But like I said, if this is something that's arisen a lot more recently, if you could hold off on that. Especially, we have the Queen of Cups at the bottom of the deck as well, which is Cancer energy. And, for you guys, Cancer is your 12th house. There's nothing really going on there as far as aspects go, but this could just be pointing to the fact that, maybe you're not seeing things quite as clearly as normal for whatever reason. All right. And then in the outcome position, we have the Emperor and the Queen of Wands. So these are actually both Aries cards. This is the Major Arcana card for Aries, and this is the Court card for Aries. Obviously, this can represent your energy as well, since you are also a fire sign. So if that were to represent your energy, one way it could be saying is that, on the surface, for whatever reason, you're really feeling a need to take that stance of being my way or the highway, right? With that Two of Swords energy, where you're kind of in that, trying to completely detach emotionally and base your decisions strictly on logic. But underneath it all, it looks like it's saying that you do have more of that loving energy, and even you might be doubting making the move, and like I said, and that could definitely be the case with the Tower. And then we see with the Justice card in the near future, that Nine of Wands energy, where you feel like, okay, was that really the right move, right? So something to keep in mind there. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at that card, another thing comes to mind for me. Um, that card actually represents the middle 10 degrees of Sagittarius. And Jupiter has been retrograde in those degrees for a long time. Now, fifth house, for one, that's the house that you naturally rule. So you might have felt like you are, hitting a streak of bad luck in that regard, right? You might have felt like things were stuck and stagnant. And then on top of that, it could also represent your romantic life. So you might have just felt like things were stagnant in that area. Keep in mind, Jupiter did go direct again. Actually, I'm recording this on the 21st of August, so about 10 days ago it started to go direct, and it's going to continue to pick up speed. And this month it will be squaring Neptune, so maybe that's where that Pisces energy comes in too. You might have felt that square a couple of times already as it's happened throughout the year, but this is the last time it's going to happen too. So it could even be that aspect at play, because I think that full moon is going to be square Jupiter as well, the full moon in Pisces. So if this is more of a new feeling for you guys, whether it is around finances or even just, feeling like you've hit a creative block in some way, keep in mind that should pass. So try to ride it out this month if that's what you're feeling. Most likely that'll turn around for you guys. All right. Moving on to your oracle cards. The first one we have is building blocks. There's the actual artwork, and the number is 28. All right, it says strong foundations, a beautiful work in progress. The oracle's message: you have everything you need to cultivate an extraordinary life. This is a time when your focus needs to be on the foundations you build upon. Your work, your relationships, and your very being are underwritten by your values, ethics, morals, and core beliefs. Are they still true for you? Will they stand the test of time and serve as the solid grounding upon which you construct your life? Now you are making changes that will affect everything in a positive way. Your destiny is truly a remarkable and beautiful design. So, I mean, that sounded like a pretty supportive message there. So, like I said, especially for those of you, if this is something where this has been a much more long standing thing where you feel like you're already overdue to leave a connection or a job, that's one thing. But if it's a more recent feeling, I'd say try to stick through it if you can. The relationship message says, when you see this card, know that you are attracting new relationships into your life and solidifying the ones you already have by building them on the foundations of honesty, humility, clear communication, and a genuine desire to know one another. You are moving toward laying the groundwork for a relationship with the firm footing that will ensure it can withstand any storm. Long-standing relationships are also repaired and strengthened. You and the other person are stronger, wiser, and more powerful together than apart. So, I guess what one way you could look at that, for some of you, if this is already, like I said, if this was a past conflict with that Five of Wands, and maybe you guys are still on the outs, right? That could be another way it's playing out, where maybe quote unquote the damage was already done. Maybe you even broke the connection apart, and that's what the Nine of Pentacles is in the present. And now you're reevaluating, like, was that the right move, right, to break the connection up? So maybe with the Justice in the near future, with the Nine of Wands, another way that could play out is to say that for those of you who do want to bring a connection back, you might be a bit humbled, where you're like, okay, I thought for sure it was the right move to get out of this connection. Now I'm having that tower realization that, oh wait, actually I might need to, repair this connection now. So that could be the way it's playing out for some of you. Probably a much smaller group. And then the prosperity message says you have everything you need to turn iron into gold in the alchemical process of creating the prosperous life you desire. Now is the time to build on the strong foundation you have already laid for your prosperity. Keep in mind that these building blocks are imbued with the sparkling energy of your intentions. Own your dream and remember that you always have more than enough and you always are enough, so abundance is ever present. Your creativity is divinely inspired, and the design for your life is taking shape in service to the world. You are meant for success. So what's interesting there is when it mentioned the alchemical process. In some decks, the Magician card. Well, no, I'm actually thinking of the Temperance card. Temperance card is referred to as alchemy. My apologies, but with the Magician, though, that's still a big manifestation energy. So, I could just be saying that keep in mind that, hey, if there's, especially if there are ideas you have for growing your money, right? Like I said, with the Two of Swords there, you're at the 7. Turn those 2 swords into 2 pentacles, right? You get the 7, and then you're up to the 9 of pentacles. So that could be saying, hey, if you have ideas on how to grow your money, this might be a good time to put them into place. All right, and then the next oracle card we have is from the Spirit Animal Oracle deck, and you have Fox Spirit. It says, think on your feet. There's the artwork for it, and the number is 27. So interesting, we have the 27 and 28. For those of you who do see this in August, maybe watch out for those 2 days. Maybe you get some insight there. Or for those of you who don't see this till September, maybe those 2 dates would be significant for you as well. Okay. It says, be alert now, for Fox Spirit has appeared, and you are meant to move swiftly. Let this clever spirit draw out your creativity as you adjust to rapidly changing circumstances with resilience, grace, and astuteness. Fox Spirit helps you to think on your feet, using your best judgment and wits to help you slip into a more advantageous situation. Now is not a time to hesitate, but a time for swift action of the mind, a time to think outside the box and notice the many ways in which you might make a move, aware of your surroundings and always clear on what you deserve and wish to co-create. Trust that your cleverness, guided by Fox Spirit, will serve you well. Well, it's kind of funny in a way that almost sounds like it's saying, yeah, totally create the tower moment if that's what you want to do. So I mean, for those of you who are looking for some validation there, that almost sounded more supportive for that. So maybe I stand corrected, right? All right. Moving on to your mudra card, we have the Linga mudra. That's the mudra itself there. The keyword is virility. And there's the information on it there. As you can see, for benefits, it says warms the body, relieves cold and flu symptoms, reduces lethargy and laziness, increases self-confidence and willpower. So, for those of you, if you feel like you might have some benefit from that, I doubt the cold and flu dynamic is as at play for most of you, given the time of year. But, as far as the self-confidence and willpower, if you feel like that would be helpful to you, um, I will put the name of the mudra in the description as well if you wanted to look into that a bit more. All right, guys, we'll wrap up there, and I'll see you all next month. Bye.